Society doesn't need who you really are. It just wants you to fit in. You swallow your true thoughts every day. And each time you stay quiet, something inside you dies a little. What if the real danger isn't standing out? What if it's blending in until no one sees you? There was a moment when you stopped being yourself. You probably don't remember it. The day someone laughed at your wild ideas. That time when people gave you weird looks for thinking differently. That evening when you shared a dream and saw worry on your parents' faces. Something in you pulled back, retreated. A tiny death happened, so small you hardly noticed it. What if that wasn't just a childhood hurt? What if it was the start of a slow suffocation? A suffocation that's still happening right now as you watch this video, wondering if anyone else feels that empty space where your true self used to be. Look around you, at work, in your relationships, even in the mirror. How often do you act instead of just being? How many times do you fix your thoughts before you say them? When was the last time you felt truly, wildly alive instead of just okay? Society doesn't kill what makes us special with force. It does something much sneakier. It rewards us for fitting in. It celebrates us for being like everyone else. It promotes people who follow the unwritten rules. The quiet violence of fitting in isn't about what's taken from you. It's about what you give away, bit by precious bit, until one day you wake up living someone else's life. That empty feeling you get in quiet moments, that's not anxiety, that's not depression. That's the muffled scream of your true self, buried alive under years of doing what's normal. What scares me most isn't that we fit in. It's that we've forgotten we're fitting in at all. The cage feels so normal that we think it's freedom. But here's what keeps me up at night. What gifts has the world lost because you decided to blend in? What voice, your voice, will never be heard because somewhere along the way you learned that being different was dangerous? You're tired not because life is hard, but because pretending is harder. The cost of fitting in isn't just an idea. It shows up in the headaches you get on weekends. It hides in those dreams where you try to speak, but no sound comes out. It's why, even with all your social media friends, you sometimes feel deeply alone in a room full of people. Think about the last time you sat in a meeting, holding back what you really thought, because it was different from what everyone else said. Remember that relationship where you became smaller, less bright, less you, just to keep things peaceful? Or that family gathering where you nodded along to ideas that hurt your soul, because speaking up wasn't worth the fight? Each time this happens, something in you withers. Your energy drains, not because life is tiring, but because pretending to be someone else steals your life force. This is why you're always tired. This is why happiness feels just out of reach. This is why even your successes feel empty. Take a breath. Feel that weight on your chest? That's not worry. That's your true self fighting for air. The worst part? The world rewards your self-betrayal at every turn. That promotion you got for being a team player, was it really for being good or for making others comfortable? Those stable relationships, would they last if you showed up as your unfiltered self? The likes you get on social media, aren't they just proof that your act is working? Who gets uncomfortable when you speak your truth? Who quietly punishes your realness? Who benefits when you stay silent? And the question that might break your heart, do you even remember who you were before the world told you who to be? Drop a fire emoji in the comments if that question just punched you in the gut. The tragedy isn't just about you. It's that your unique view, the one you've buried, might have been exactly what someone else needed to hear. Your unusual approach, the one you've made normal, might have solved problems no one else could. Your authentic voice, the one now silenced, might have created art that woke others up. Your fitting in isn't just killing you, It's robbing the world of your gifts. We act a certain way to be loved, but end up loving the act instead of ourselves. This pain isn't new. The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre talked about this exact problem when he wrote about bad faith, the lie we tell ourselves when we deny our freedom by following outside rules and roles. For Sartre, this wasn't just sad, it was a betrayal of what makes us human. But maybe no one understood this better than Carl Jung, who said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Jung saw that most people never claim this gift. Instead, they create what he called a persona, a social mask that hides their true self. The mask isn't always bad. We all need ways to fit into society. The danger comes when we think the mask is our real face. Jung described this scary change. The persona is a complicated system of relations between individual consciousness and society, fittingly enough, a kind of mask, designed on the one hand to make a definite impression upon others, and, on the other, to conceal the true nature of the individual. This hiding process is as old as civilization itself. Traditional societies knew the danger of lost authenticity, which is why they created special ceremonies, not just to mark life changes, but to make sure each person found their unique gifts and purpose. From Native American vision quests to Australian Aboriginal walkabouts, cultures worldwide knew that without special help, the person would be swallowed by group demands. Think about a garden. Society works like a gardener, with very clear ideas about which plants are flowers and which are weeds. Your unique traits, your wildness, your intensity, your unusual views, are often labeled as weeds to be pulled out, not flowers to be nurtured. And because belonging is a basic human need, you help pull out your own most special qualities. You didn't lose yourself by accident. You gave yourself up to be accepted. Take another moment. Breathe. This process starts in childhood. The psychologist Alice Miller showed how even loving parents and teachers subtly push children to give up their true selves for socially approved behaviors. This isn't mean, it's protective. They're trying to prepare you for a world that rewards fitting in, but the price is terrible. What Miller called the drama of the gifted child, where talent and uniqueness are traded for acceptance and safety. This isn't just theory. Modern brain science has started mapping what happens in the brain when we hold back our true impulses. The constant stopping activates stress pathways, creating a background buzz of anxiety. Meanwhile, the reward centers that light up when we express our true nature stay dark. We're literally wiring our brains for discomfort and disconnection. But here's where it gets really sneaky. Fitting in pretends to be connection. We think we're making real bonds when we adapt to social expectations, but these relationships are built on performances, not presence. As the poet David Whyte says, the price of our vitality is the sum of all our fears. The question remains, if this pattern is so old, so deeply wired in our brains, and so socially rewarded, can we break free? Or are we doomed to live within the narrow boundaries society has set for us? The prison doesn't have bars. It has rewards for good behavior. To understand how deeply we're trapped in conformity, we need to recognize its most common form, the curator. This is the part of you that has become an expert at filtering your true expression before it reaches the world. The curator isn't evil. It developed to protect you. But protection has turned into prison. The curator speaks in a voice you know well. That's too weird. They wouldn't understand. Better keep that thought to yourself. Don't rock the boat. What would people think? This voice has become so constant you probably mistake it for wisdom rather than fear. Each time you let the curator silence your true impulse, you strengthen pathways of self-censorship in your brain. The tragedy isn't just for that moment. It's that over time, you stop having the true impulses altogether. The spring of your originality doesn't just get blocked, it dries up completely. But here's what's interesting. Fitting in isn't just about avoiding bad consequences. It's actually driven by a misguided search for love. Deep down, you believe that your unfiltered self is unlovable, that your rough edges, your intensity, your quirks would drive others away if fully expressed. And since connection is a biological need as essential as food or water, you make the seemingly smart choice to trade authenticity for acceptance. You are not alone in this bargain. Look at the faces passing you on the street, in the office, at parties. Behind the pleasant expressions and appropriate behaviors are other trapped souls who have made the same devil's bargain. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's the unspoken agreement of modern society. We collectively agree to make ourselves smaller for the illusion of harmony. The most heartbreaking proof appears in our close relationships. Research by psychologist Michael Kernis found that people with authentic functioning had more satisfying relationships despite the increased conflict that sometimes came with their honesty. Yet we continue to believe the opposite, that hiding our true nature preserves connection, when in fact it guarantees that we're connecting to fake versions rather than real people. You cannot be loved for who you are if you never show who you are. Let me repeat that. You cannot be loved for who you are if you never show who you are. Think about the midlife crisis. We usually see this as a cliché, the sudden sports car purchase, the affair, the radical career change. But what if these apparent clichés are actually desperate attempts to reclaim a lost authenticity? What if they represent the soul's final, frantic attempt to break free before giving up forever? The Curator doesn't just police what you express. Over time, it reshapes your inner landscape. You begin to disconnect from your own deepest yearnings, because acknowledging them would create too much conflict with the life you're actually living. This is how people wake up at 40, 50, or 60 with the haunting realization that they've been climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall. You cannot be loved for who you are if you never show who you are. The first hint of hope comes from a surprising place: pain itself, that emptiness you feel, that strange sadness that visits in quiet moments. That's not sickness, that's health. It's your authentic self sending up flares, refusing to be completely snuffed out. If you feel the pain of self-betrayal, some essential part of you is still alive. The journey back to authenticity begins with one radical act: listening to yourself with the same attention you've given to others. This isn't selfish, it's self-reclamation. It means treating your inner voice with the same respect you've given to social expectations. Start with something small. Notice when the Curator activates, when you feel that subtle inner flinch before expressing something. In that moment, ask yourself, what am I afraid would happen if I showed my true self here? Often, the disasters you imagine exist only in your mind, not in reality. The path isn't about big gestures or burning down your life. It's about small acts of courage, tiny moments of truth-telling, small rebellions against unnecessary limits. This isn't about being reckless or hurtful. Authentic expression doesn't mean being cruel. It means being present with what's true for you, shared with integrity. With each authentic expression, something amazing happens. You discover which relationships grow to welcome your truth and which were built on the condition of your performance. This sorting is painful, but necessary. As the poet David Whyte writes, anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you. You didn't fail at being real. You succeeded at a game that was rigged from the start. Your silence isn't patience, it's self-betrayal. Let's be brutally honest now. Your conformity is not just something that happened to you. At some point, it became a choice you make every day. Your fitting in is no longer just a survival strategy. It's become who you think you are. And identities don't give up without a fight. The comfortable story you tell yourself is that you're being realistic, mature, responsible, that being your true self is a luxury for those with fewer responsibilities, that your compromises are noble sacrifices for others. But what if these are clever lies? What if they're just fancy disguises for your fear? Take a breath. Let this question sink in. Who would you be if you dropped the act? What parts of your life would fall apart if you stopped playing along? What relationships would change or end if you expressed your unfiltered truth? These questions scare you because they threaten the identity you've carefully built. The responsible employee, the supportive partner, the good parent, the reliable friend. But identities built on compliance aren't real identities. They're elaborate hiding places. You cannot be loved for who you are if you never show who you are. The deepest tragedy isn't that you've been hiding. It's that you've been hiding so long, you've forgotten what you're hiding. Your authentic nature, your unfiltered perspective, your natural energy, your unique voice has become a stranger to you. You've committed the ultimate act of self-betrayal. You've abandoned yourself so completely that you no longer recognize what you've lost. Ask yourself, when was the last time you felt fully alive, electric, with the energy of genuine self-expression? When did you last experience that deep-down feeling of, yes, this is me? If you have to think too long to answer, that's your wake-up call. Consider this soul punch. Your regrets when dying won't be about the times you broke convention or spoke your truth. They'll be about the essential self you never allowed to fully live. As Bronnie Ware found in her work with the dying, the most common regret wasn't about what people did, but what they didn't do. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. The parts you hide contain your greatest power. What voice inside you has been silenced so long, it's nearly given up trying to speak? What creative urge has knocked on your mind so many times, only to be turned away? What truth sits on your tongue in silent conversations with yourself, never to be spoken aloud? The greatest violence isn't what society has done to you. It's what you continue to do to yourself each time you choose safety over authenticity, approval over truth, fitting in over standing out. You cannot be loved for who you are if you never show who you are. Here's the paradox that might save you. The parts of yourself you fear would be most rejected are often the source of your greatest potential gifts. Your sensitivity, your intensity, your unusual way of seeing. These aren't flaws to be fixed, but gifts waiting to be expressed. What if the very qualities you've been hiding are exactly what the world around you desperately needs? The psychologist Abraham Maslow noticed that self-actualized people share a quality he called resistance to enculturation, a healthy skepticism toward cultural norms that don't help human flourishing. This isn't rebellion for its own sake. It's discernment. Not every social expectation deserves your compliance. Who would you be without the curator editing your every move? What would you create if you trusted your unique vision? How would you love if you weren't policing your own heart? What problems could you solve with your unfiltered perspective? The world doesn't need another person who just fits in. It needs your one-of-a-kind voice. It needs the solutions only your specific mind can create. It needs the art only your particular soul can make. It needs the love only your unique heart can offer. The simple truth is this: your authenticity isn't just good for you. It's a gift to everyone around you. It gives others permission to be real. It creates spaces where genuine connection becomes possible. It solves problems that conformity keeps alive. The deepest act of courage isn't facing outside dangers. It's facing yourself, the self you've hidden, even from your own awareness. It's digging up your buried voice and letting it speak, even when it shakes. You outgrew the cage. The discomfort is your wings stretching out. Every time you silence yourself, you vote for a world with less truth in it. Remember that moment I described at the beginning? That tiny death, when some essential part of you pulled back from the world. It doesn't have to be permanent. Coming back to life is possible, not through big gestures, but through patient reclaiming of what was lost. The way forward isn't about dramatic outside changes, at least not at first. It begins with honest truth in your relationship with yourself. Start by creating a safe space for your authentic voice, maybe through writing in a journal, quiet thinking time, or talks with trusted friends who celebrate rather than fear your uniqueness. Notice when you feel that subtle tightening, that moment before you edit yourself to fit expectations. That tightening is your gateway to freedom. Instead of automatically fitting in, pause. Ask yourself, what would I say or do if I weren't afraid right now? Then take one small step in that direction. With each authentic expression, you reclaim a piece of your power. You strengthen brain pathways of self-trust. You attract people who respond to your genuine self rather than your performance. Most importantly, you begin healing the deep wound of believing your authentic nature is somehow not acceptable. This isn't about blurting out every thought or feeling without care. Authenticity needs wisdom, not just courage. The question isn't, should I express everything? But rather, am I choosing silence because it's truly right, or because I'm afraid? As you practice this wisdom, something miraculous happens. The parts of your life built on performance begin to either transform or fall away, making space for connections and contributions aligned with your true nature. Yes, there will be disruption. Some relationships will be challenged. Some roles may no longer fit. But what emerges is a life that doesn't require you to constantly abandon yourself. The writer Martha Beck describes this process as finding your North Star, reconnecting with your internal guidance system after years of following outside maps. This reconnection isn't selfish. It's the necessary first step for your most meaningful contributions. You cannot give what you do not own. You cannot share a voice you've silenced. What becomes possible when you take the muzzle off your authenticity? Innovation, creativity, genuine connection, solutions to problems that conformity keeps going. Your unique perspective isn't just valuable to you, it's essential to the growth of our collective consciousness. The quiet violence of conformity doesn't have to be your story's end. It can be the dark chapter before your rebirth, the necessary contrast that makes your eventual self-reclamation even more powerful. Today, make this promise to yourself in the comments: I reclaim my voice. This isn't just words, it's your declaration of independence from the tyranny of unnecessary conformity. It's your first step toward becoming a full citizen of your own life, rather than an exile. Type, I reclaim my voice, in the comments below. Let it be your commitment, not just to yourself, but to a world desperately in need of authentic voices. Your silence was learned. Your voice can be found again. This journey of reclaiming your authenticity isn't something that happens in a single moment of insight. It's a practice, a daily commitment to digging up and expressing your buried truth. And I want to support you in that practice. In my next video, I'll be exploring the Authenticity Toolkit, specific practices that help you tell the difference between helpful social adaptation and soul-crushing conformity. You'll learn how to spot your unique authenticity triggers, those situations where you're most likely to abandon yourself. More importantly, you'll discover techniques for staying present with your truth, even in challenging situations. If this message hit home for you, if you felt that spark of recognition that says, this is my struggle too, then subscribe now. This isn't just about building an audience. It's about creating a community of people committed to living from their essential nature, rather than their conditioned performance. The journey ahead isn't always comfortable. Truth-telling has consequences, but those consequences bring much more life than the slow death of constant self-betrayal. Together, We'll navigate both the challenges and the deep rewards of authentic living. Subscribe now and join a group of people who are done performing, done pleasing, done shrinking. A community reclaiming their wild, wise voices in a world that desperately needs what only they can contribute. Society doesn't need your authenticity, but your soul does, and so does ours. There's a story about a man who spent years searching for a precious jewel, only to find it had been in his pocket all along. Your authenticity is that jewel, not something to get, but something to remember, uncover, restore to its rightful place. The philosopher Martin Heidegger talked about the call of conscience, not as moral judgment, but as the voice of your authentic self, calling you back from being lost in social conventions. That call never fully disappears, no matter how long you've ignored it. It waits patiently, persistently, for you to finally listen. What haunts me isn't how many people live and die without discovering their authentic voice. It's how many discover it and still choose silence. How many glimpse their potential and pull back in fear. How many hear the call and find reasons not to answer. Don't let that be your story. In the quiet spaces between your thoughts, in the moments before sleep, in unexpected flashes of clarity, your authentic self still speaks. It's never too late to listen. It's never too late to answer. It's never too late to reclaim the voice that has always been yours. The world doesn't need your perfection. It doesn't need your fitting in. It needs your truth, spoken in your unique accent, from your singular perspective, with your particular tone and sound. I reclaim my voice. Will you reclaim yours?